I'm at home in England. Really, I can't stop thinking about the amazing adventure I had with the Land Cruiser 6-wheel drive. So much so that I decided I want one and I'm going to build one. But I'm going to build a camper on the back. I mean, I've got a lot of space and a huge amount of payload to play with. And I want to build a vehicle for my Australian expeditions that start in 2017. And I'm going to be doing some very long range trips, months on the road, if not more. So I have to build a camper, a live-in, live-out of camper. But I don't know anything about campers. I mean, I know a little bit about them, but my previous experience with a pickup wasn't altogether successful. So how do I get to, I've got to design it for myself from ground up. So I decided the best way to do this is to actually live in a camper. Go and get a camper and spend some time in it. And one of the countries that is really good at campers is the United States of America. So that's where I'm going now. Unbelievable. Yes, you guessed it. This is New York City, a favourite city of mine. What can I learn here about campers? Nothing. But I can visit the World Trade Center Memorial, which I've wanted to do for a while. So I'm going to get myself a 6x6 Land Cruiser. Decided. You know where I got the inspiration from? No, not from this. This is far heavier than my Land Cruiser is going to be. I got my inspiration because the United States of America, and that's where I am now, it's San Francisco, down Fisherman's Wharf, and they have these brilliant ships, and what a lovely sense of history. The United States is the place of the pickup. In fact, the dirtier your pickup is, the more manly you are. I'm not quite there yet, but I am in pickup country. And the fact that the 6x6 Land Cruiser is in fact a pickup, and I have to develop and design a camper that's going to bolt onto the back of it, I thought there is no better place on the planet to come to find out how to do that. And where is the best place to find out how to design this? Well, I want it as a live-in, live-out of camper. And if I'm living in it some of the time in bad weather, then I'm living in quite a cramped condition, aren't I? Well, I thought, well, how could I find out about life in cramped conditions? Unbelievable. The 6x6 spoken of is this. I've just returned from an expedition in Oman, driving a Toyota Land Cruiser pickup 6-wheel drive. I'm so impressed with it that I'm going to build one for myself. But mine will have 4 doors and a full camper conversion on the back. So I've come to the USA to begin my development research. And I'm travelling with my wife Gwyn, who's going to be spending a lot of time in this camper, so her ideas and help will be vital.
1942. That's where we are now.
Sorry, not quite right. USS Pampanito was launched in 1943 and is now preserved by the San Francisco Maritime National Park. The boat is berthed near Fisherman's Wharf. She completed 6 tours during World War II between 1944 and 45, and then served as a training ship from 1960 to 1971. She's 95 meters long and weighs in at 1,526 tons. Okay, lesson number 1, keep all hard, sharp objects high up. Oh dear. That's better. I'm a bit scared of pressing the buttons here in case it accidentally shoots a torpedo and sinks the Jeramey O'Brien. Forgive me for a moment while I indulge my love of ships. The Jeramey O'Brien has an even more illustrious history. She is a Liberty ship, a rare survivor of the 6,939 ship armada that stormed the Normandy beaches on D-Day in 1944. Amazingly, she is kept in ocean-going condition and returned to France on the 50th anniversary of the D-Day landings, the only large vessel from the original landings to return. You know, there is one other place that I can think of that would be even better in learning about living in cramped conditions. Alcatraz! Back in San Francisco, and the real reason I'm here. Not far away in Sacramento, California's state capital, is four-wheel Popup campers. I'm going to be taking one of their campers out for a few weeks in an effort to find out why in this country they love their campers so much. Four-Wheel Campers CEO Tom Hannigan introduces me to my home for the next 2 weeks.
So this will be your truck for the next couple of weeks right over here. It's a Toyota Tundra, a little bit of an older style.
I'm very excited, very excited.
We've got the BF Goodrich KO2s, a later version.
Brilliant. It doesn't look particularly heavy, all alloy frame, but how heavy is it? And how will this not overly large pickup handle it?
The payload of the vehicle is in the realm of around 1,500 pounds. The camper itself, the one you have on your truck, is right around 1,100, between 1,100 and 1,200 pounds. So you've got a little bit of cushion there, but what we've done is by adding in airbags in the rear suspension, as well as the beefed up leaf springs, you're in very fine shape.
Oh, wow.
Good. Very good. Okay. I am so excited about this. Another opportunity to go overlanding in the USA. My plan is to go camping in the Californian forests and then travel through the lowest and hottest parts of the country in Death Valley. After that, I'll end it all in the not-so-touristy parts of the Grand Canyon. And all that before attending the Overland Expo West in Arizona. So we've arrived at our first stop. This is the big Basin Redwoods Park, just south of San Jose, which it is just south of San Francisco. And I've got with us a four-wheel pop-up camper. I've chosen the four-wheel because it's very popular in the US. But it's quite simple, it's quite straightforward. It really is designed to be bolted on and then taken off when the vehicle is being used for other things. So it is fully self-contained. It's got lots of bits in it that look very interesting and that I think I can learn a lot from it. And why I've come to this particular place is, well, my love of trees, and that from here we're actually heading into the desert. There are no trees. We're going to Death Valley. So I thought I would get a good strong tree fix before we head into the desert. We are surrounded by all 4 of the most common trees found in these forests. These forests extend for miles over this part of California. To me, it's such a surprise that there's such a large area covered in these ancient forests. But they're not really ancient. These are actually quite new forests by comparison with many of the other forests in California, growing the more common sequoia, the giant sequoia. There are fewer giant sequoia here. Most of these trees are the coast redwood. Now, at the gate they give you these things about all the different trees and everything. Coast redwoods, these are coast redwoods here. Okay. Their conservation ethic in these forests is very strict. So much so that this is designated a crumb-free area, and that's because the crows and ravens are very harmful to local endangered bird species, and by attracting them with crumbs on the picnic table, you're actually doing harm to the environment. So they're very, very strict on that. In fact, I had to sign a little note saying that I would take care and I wouldn't leave crumbs around, and I would actually pay attention to their requests to look after the local wildlife. I thought that was quite nice. That is the straightest tree in the world. Well, there you have it. After the first night camping in our four-wheel camper, we are now going to go and interview the most important person at the campsite and find out how she enjoyed the night's camp. How did you enjoy the night's camp? Did you enjoy the night's camp? Be honest now.
It was fantastic.
There you go. You have it, ladies and gentlemen, from the... I was going to say horse's mouth. Don't hit me. Fact is, it was absolutely fantastic. Brilliant, brilliant. And you know, we got into bed and we put up the thing. And we couldn't stop talking about our own project and how we would do this and and I honestly thought that when first looking at this, that there would not be a lot of elements in this design that I would take for mine. I was wrong. There are lots and lots of elements I'm going to nick from this. In terms of its design, it's got some very nice features. But one of the thing that is very, very obvious to me is that there are southern hemisphere campers and there are northern hemisphere campers, and they're quite different. And later on I'll explain why.
Elevation from what
At this point in our journey, we are joined by Jeramey James, a good friend of mine, who lives in the northwest of the United States. From a child, he's explored these forests.
Really kind of meaty mushroom. They've got a stem that's about the color of this wood, and they only stand about 3 inches tall.
We're looking for mushrooms. Yes, mushroom soup for steak with mushroom sauce.
You clean them, and then you put a little egg wash and some panko breading and fry them up and eat them with ranch dressing. It's fantastic.
Yum!
And they kind of blend in, so it's hard to find, but once you initially find one or two...
Feels like a bit like fishing. You know, when I go fishing, I eat steak for supper, looking for mushrooms. Guess what we're having for supper, or not having for supper? I was wrong. Here they are. Oh dear. Jeremy's just told me that they're the wrong ones and that these are tasteless. So our search continues. Well, there you go. Our first night camp as I begin my expedition to discover the delights of outback wilderness California. This is Lake Isabella. When people talk to me about travel in Africa, I've spent 38 years traveling through the most remotest parts of southern Africa. And they ask me and they'll say, how safe is it? And I'll respond by saying, well, what specifically are you worried about? Is it, you know, and most commonly they'll say animals, specifically snakes. Well, how many close encounters have I had with snakes over the last 38 years in Africa? I can count them on one hand, and only one very close encounter, maybe two. This is my third year in a row. I've visited northern North America. And guess what? This evening, as we were setting up camp, what a delight. A magnificent snake just crawling up over the rocks here as we're setting up our camp. I think it's a kind of adder. I'll identify it for you and put the name at the bottom, but magnificent. Last year, second night camp, California king snake, right there. So if I had to answer the question, which continent has more snakes? I'm sorry, it has to be North America. So first night, may I introduce you to Jeramey? Jeramey from Seattle, good friend, and our guide, well, our host in California and Arizona.
And I bet you're wondering, what is he cooking? No, sorry, not mushrooms, something else. We didn't find a single one.
Can I pick a campsite or what? I mean, I don't mean to boast. And in this case, it was 100% luck. And the last time I was at a magnificent campsite, it was 100% because of somebody else's knowledge, local knowledge. But somehow, I keep finding myself in magnificent locations. This is Lake Lillian. It's not far from the town of Bakersfield, California. And we're heading to Death Valley. Now, what I wanted to do was to experience broad varieties of landscapes in California. What could California offer? California is unbelievably diverse, and we're only going to see one or two different aspects of it. I mean, the Sierra Nevadas that are incredibly high mountains. There are glaciers, real glaciers, genuine glaciers. There are, lakes and spots like this. Very, very lonely and quiet this morning because we're well out of school holidays. And of course the huge forests and magnificent trees. And of course deserts, Death Valley.
Down every golden road, paved in fallen souls, people strive and struggle for their dreams. It's a sordid, sour game, pros and foul are all in play. Fixes in, we're heading up this street. When you're broken down, far away, forsaken towns, wearied by the weak link in your chain. One whimper or a sound, the better days are surely crowned. Better hold your hope, hold tighter on the reins. Under skies full of fire, burning embers fall instead of rain. See me there, I aspire, hanging on to all my feeling vain. Well, lessons we are sold in the fabled tales of old. Bow your heads, get on your knees and pray, while calling out his name, turn a sinning soul to saint. You know trouble's sure to find and cause pain.
This is actually a public campsite run by the national park. This is a conservation area. There are 3 open camping lots, $20 a night. The only facilities are long drop toilets, but it's very wild. And you know, wild camping in the United States is very, very popular. And in fact, I can't think of a country, I certainly don't know of another country where there are so many opportunities to wild camp. And last year I was in Arizona, the same thing, wild camping opportunities all over the place. California looks like the same thing. Right, navigation for the 4 days through Death Valley is up to me. Nick Watson on Facebook heard that I was going and he offered his assistance. He's been there several times and he gave me a whole lot of directions, and I made notes all along, and so now I have transposed those notes onto this map. This is National Geographic map of Death Valley National Park. Very nice, high detail, fantastic. We've also been using this. Now, I love maps. I owned a mapping business, and lovely. I just love the way these maps are drawn. So we've been using this, and we will also use this. Now, I haven't done a lot of navigation using an iPad, but this time I'm going to try it. Using a program called Topo Maps. It's an app store. I got it off the App Store. It was about $8. And the good thing about Topo Maps is it allows you to download government topographics, which are 1 in 50,000, and of course lots and lots of detail. And they're free. All you have to do is pay the $8 for the program. You don't pay per map. And it was recommended to me, and very, very nice. And what I've done here in the green area are all the maps of Death Valley that I have downloaded, and the little blue dot there indicates we are just off the map, and we'll be crossing east, north, northeast, and then further south, and we'll be using a combination of these 4 things to find our way. See you in the desert.
Full of fire, burning embers fall instead of rain. See me there, I aspire, hanging on though all my feeling vain.
Our first glimpse of Death Valley over the small town of Big Pine.
This is a realization of a dream for me personally. Death Valley, I mean, come on. As a kid, hearing about Death Valley, the name Death Valley. I'm here after all of the traveling that I've done through my life, and it's always been one of those things on the bucket list. It's always been on the bucket list. Here it is. We are not 3 or 4 miles into the actual national park, the Death Valley National Park. And there it is. That's actually not Death Valley. That's the Eureka Dunes Valley, and it actually consists of 2 main mountain ranges. We've crossed over one, and there are 2 parallel valleys, and we'll be driving along the valleys, over the hill, along the valleys, over the hill, along the valley. So much history. And of course, towards the end, the lowest part, well below sea level, lowest part of North America, and the hottest place on earth. That's what we're going to enjoy over the next few days. This place in the bottom of the Eureka Valley has a very original name. It's called Deep Sand. But it's interesting, there are signs all along saying no driving off-road, and there's a very good reason for it. That's a baby, that's an infant when it comes to dunes. Over in the other part of the valley, we're surrounded by mature dunes, and they've been stabilized by plant life, and they're no longer flowing, they're no longer moving. The only thing that happens with them is a little bit of dust is taken off the top by the wind, but these actually move in this confined area. It's a moving set of dunes, and in the base of the dunes you can see the plants actually forming in its early attempts to stabilize that as well. One set of wheel tracks over any one of these dunes will destabilize it. The moment the rain falls, it collapses the stabilized dune and does huge damage to the ecology.
From driving across open valleys, the first mountain pass looms ahead. This looks interesting.
Okay, we seem to have a, not sure if this is a problem or what, but a width problem. And the biggest challenge to us at the moment in terms of this trail is tire damage, and it's close, but we can get through. Interesting. It does say on the map experienced four-wheel drive required, and now I see why. That's narrow. But you know, other vehicles the size of ours must have come here through here before. So definitely going to require some guidance.
You have to climb over that rock and that one and come down. The tire is going to come down right in this pocket right here and not completely, because I don't know if you can get high enough on that one. Maybe you can. Maybe we get high enough on there. Climb right up.
Did you enjoy that? Then please subscribe. If you'd like to take our relationship to the next level from just $1 a month to support my productions, or if you'd like to download everything I've ever made, go to forexoverland.com.